Hello, true crime fans. This is Patti Lee. You are watching the True Crime Grapevine. This is a channel where I'm going to tell you about what everybody else is talking about on the interwebs regarding the most popular and talked about cases. And I also try to give you the sources so that you can go and check out those cases for yourself. I am just giving my commentary. It is my opinion. It is all allegedly speculation. This has been a little bit of a crazy week. I'm going to give you my little introduction for the cases on this flight. I always try to pair a wine with each case so that you can drink along if you'd like, or not. I'm not going to imbue that much this time because I have an appointment today. I am taping on Monday, May 16th, during the Heard death trial. So I'm watching that, and I'll give you my impressions on that so far and where you can go for all the good, juicy, my main squeezes that I used for that trial. I have lots of suggestions for you depending on if you like psychology versus behavior analysis versus just the legal talk about it. So we have lots of Heard commentary coming up. I just want to address one more thing before I tell you the cases on this flight and what our wine pairings are. There was a trouble with the uploading, and the last two episodes have been desynchronized. So I've been watching some interweb information on that. Hopefully we can fix it. If not, we did upload those last two episodes just as podcasts, so hopefully you can listen if you're interested in my commentary and whatnot. All right, so welcome again. Please please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. It is free and it helps the channel grow so that the YouTube algorithm gods will push it out to more people if you'd like. If not, don't worry about it. But do please leave a comment, especially if you have a case you're interested in that I haven't covered, or if you have a wine that I have not tried. I would love to have wine suggestions for our pairings. All right, so this is episode 13. We have 7 cases, including one that's like a combination of some things happening. So we're going to start with the Daybell Vallow case, and I'm pairing that with my Karen water because I hate that water. It's bland and icky, and it reminds me of how I feel about Lori Vallow. Lori Daybell, as she'd like to be called after having allegedly the previous Mrs. Daybell taken care of. We're going to be talking, there's an update in the Meliete case. There's just a couple of interesting rumors flying around about the Vicky White and Casey White. That was the jailbreak case. For the Meliete case, we're going to pair that with my California Sophia. I really like it a lot. It's sort of sparkling sweet. And Maya Meliete was sparkly and sweet. It seems like was an amazing person who was unalived. Allegedly, right now, the allegation is, it was the husband. Shocker, right? Okay, so in the Vicky White and Casey White little update, the little rumor, of course, we're doing the 19 crimes because that's about how many were committed between the two of them. Our fourth case will be the Murtaugh case, or Murdoch, if you're from South Cackalack. And that will be paired with, I think I'm pairing it with a white Zin. Something white, because, crimes, white people crimes, white collar crimes goes with the white. There's another white that has like a beach that reminds me of it, even though it's a Michigan beach. May try that. I'll let you know when we do it. So it'll be something white to represent, all this corruption and the white collar crime. And there's some murders of white people. I don't know. It's hard to pair wine with crime. Again, comment below if you have any suggestions, especially if you have suggestions for a specific case. Like if you know of a South Carolina wine that I should be trying, put that in the comments, please. Then we have there's a cold case, South Carolina update. We think there's going to be a press conference at 2 o'clock. So, and I'm pairing that with the Capriccio Rosé Sangria because it's beachy and sparkly, and it's always my pairing for a young, beautiful life, which Brittany was. So hopefully by the time it gets close to that, I will be able to update you. If not, I will update you next week, but we'll talk about it. And there's, unfortunately, there's the shootings that occurred over the weekend. There was one in Buffalo, which was a horrific one. I mean, they're all horrific. You can't value one over the other. There was something that happened in Houston, and there was one in Laguna, California. So we're gonna pair with that. It's called house wine, but it's in a can, limited edition, that has like the rainbow flag, love, acceptance, and I think we need more love and acceptance to combat the domestic terrorism hate that's seemingly behind a lot of these incidents. So that's what I'm pairing with that. And then last, we will talk about the Depp versus Heard civil trial. It is going to be fabulous. And it's nice to talk about a crime that doesn't, it's a civil case, although we will talk about, there is an investigation of an actual crime in Australia coming out of that case. But we're going to pair that with the Barefoot Bubbly, the Moscato Spumante, because it's sweet, and so is Johnny Depp. So yes, bias there, right? But I mean, also bias with the evidence, in my opinion, just my opinion. So that is episode 13. That is our entire flight. Hopefully you like and subscribe, you stick around. The first sampling is, Karen water. It's called Mom Water. It has lemon and blueberry, which I like the taste of, but it's sort of very kind of bland, and I don't know. If we're talking about Karens, let's talk about Lori Daybell. So this is just an update on the Lori Vallow Daybell case. So what has happened? I believe it was Thursday or Friday. Lori's team came out with, she was declared indigent while she was incompetent, and she was given a death penalty certified attorney, and he has now got another attorney with him. So she's got a team, and I believe, I wasn't clear as if they were asking for permission or had already gotten permission to have a neuropsych on the team. It sounded like maybe this was part of asking for that to be included. But so I got this from the docket on Twitter. He posted the filing by Lori's lawyers. So what it basically said was the big highlights in this was that Lori does not want to give up her speedy trial rights. So if you remember, her rights were that she would be it's within 6 months of arraignment, and she was arraigned just this last month, and so it would be by October 19th that her trial would start in October. But since it's joined with Chad, there's some problem because his was supposed to start in January 9th. So they also said that she does want to keep them joined. Okay. But then they wrote that they would prefer more time to get ready because the death penalty was added, and they knew it would be, but so it sounds a little confusing because she wants to keep her case with Chad's. The lawyers are trying to explain to her that it would be easier, okay, if that would happen, that they would do it in January. But she also, at the same time, says, I mean, she's like, oh, okay, but I don't want to give up my rights to a speedy trial. So, the last big thing and the most, like, explosive, this is what we need to drink too, because this will make you want to drink. Yeah, ooh, bland and a little bitter, like Lori. Yeah, they wrote that she has a very complex and fragile mental state. And we all know what that sounds like, right? So the interwebs were abuzz with, is she going to become incompetent again? Now, the people at the state hospital said no. So now her defense, I don't know, this is like the first time the defense said, I mean, is she difficult to work with? Does she seem like she just wants it how she wants it? You know, like a Karen? I don't know if that means she's delusional. I mean, I think she wants Burger King. Well, I don't want to lose out on my speedy trial, and I want to keep it together. You think you need more time? Well, maybe. So we're not there. We don't know. Do we think Lori Vallow is manipulative? A lot of people, including me, I think she might be. I don't know. We're going to play this game of incompetent, not competent. I think it seems like they're telegraphing that she's going to be found incompetent again due to her fragile and complex mental state, and therefore, I don't know. The one thing I would like to find out, and it's her medical information, so it won't be abundantly clear, but and our biggest source for the Lori Vallow Daybell case has been Hidden True Crime. Go follow them. They have a podcast that you can find on all the podcast sites, as well as they upload on YouTube. And every Friday, usually, now they didn't do it this Friday, they have a lawyer, Lori Hellis. Hi, Lori Hellis, who we love, who is a great part of their, they have a triad, really, of experts, because Lauren Mathias is a journalist, and her husband, Dr. John, is a criminal psychologist, and Lori Hellis is a lawyer. So, in all three of those, if you put them together, you get a really good idea, and they can sort of read the tea leaves and tell us what filings might mean, especially Lori Hellis. But they did not upload this Friday due to a family issue and putting family first, and so we don't know. And I didn't get any good info on what this really means. I just personally think that they're saying, like, they don't want to have that special timeline and make everybody get ready for a court just to have her go, oh, you know, like to have so if they have to remain joined, to have Chad's case moved up to October because they have to remain joined and she doesn't want to get rid of a speedy trial, and then, John Pryor, they do all that work to get ready a little bit earlier, and then, Lori's incompetent again. So that might be a problem. So it looks like this filing is a way to somehow set up a situation where she's not at fault. If that falls through, we will see. So that's the big deal. The other thing I'd like to tell you about. So anyway, so that whole filing, the main squeezes, my sources would be the docket on Twitter. That's Eric. He's also, I have to think of the acronym, BEBC on the YouTube. He puts up some YouTube things, but I'd follow him on Twitter because, man, does he have documentation down. He is the docket. Go follow him on Twitter. Again, Hidden True Crime. That is a good follow on all the platforms. And this case involves issues with a splinter group from the Mormon Church, and there have been other splinter groups, and I might do a little special thing on it because it's very interesting. Other splinter groups involving like crimes, like murder as well. So there is a YouTuber her name is Jen, but she goes by the L Mom, and she calls it Outer Darkness. But she has a lot of good background information on what the Mormon aspect of this is, and it's very interesting. And she talked about Chad thinking there's a thing called the One Mighty and Strong, and it's actually in the Mormon original doctrine. Supposedly this is from the words of Joseph Smith, that this was like a prophecy. And it kind of sounds a little bit like Harry Potter. Sorry. I mean, I think a lot of religions, if you're into somebody called Joseph Campbell, he talks about the hero story, and that every religion and other literature has a hero story, and somebody who comes from nothing and sacrifices everything to save everybody. And the One Mighty and Strong kind of sounds like that fits into that paradigm. This was something he prophesied happening, and I am not doing it justice. Look up on YouTube, L Mom, Outer Darkness. I really think because she was in the religion and has some thoughts and understands, I think, from inside and out. Also, again, Hidden True Crime, in their videos, they have some background information that I would definitely, if you're interested in where the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell cult came from, go to those two sources. And again, maybe I'll do a deep dive, but that is who I'm going to send you to. All right, so we will find out if there will be any more filings about, right now we're just trying to set up dates, right, when this trial will be. There will be more information probably next week. So here's to all the Karens out there who want it their way, even if it seems complex. And we do hope Lori Vallow is doing well. Oh, what I wanted to say was, I'm not sure, and I hope Lori Hellis explains this to us, if she might be decompensating because maybe in jail she can't be forced to take the medication like she had to take in the state mental hospital. Because that seemed to be a problem. So, or is it just stress? Anyways, Lori Vallow, complex, mentally fragile. Okay, our second sampling on this episode is the Maya Meliete case. So I don't think I've talked about this before because when I started my podcast 13 weeks ago, things had settled down a little bit in this case, but they're heating up again. So we are pairing Maya Meliete. It's the Sophia. It's called Blanc on Blanc, California. It's got some bubbly in it, see? And it's bubbly. So, and it's bubbly and kind of sweet. But also a little complex. It reminds me of Maya Meliete. She is a mother, or is, apparently, we might have to say was, a mother of, I believe it was 3 little children. The oldest maybe was 8. She had videos on YouTube where she sang. Beautiful voice, and she was a beautiful lady in her 40s, I believe, early 40s. She is married to Larry Meliete. They had a traditional marriage. I'm trying to think of their background, which was, they were living, I believe they grew up in Hawaii, and both of them had done some, joined the military, not in different respects, and then ended up moving to the San Diego area. They're in Chula Vista is where this took place. 3 kids, marriage. They got married young. It just seems like she outgrew him. The marriage they had different likes and dislikes, and he wasn't happy about that. Her last call was to a divorce attorney, and then poof. The last time she was seen was, I believe it was January, where do we have that? January 7th, 2 years ago. Just disappeared. What has come out from this since then? There were reports, and it seemed, I've seen the video, the neighbor had a camera, security camera running, and you can hear what sounds like gunshots that night. You just hear, that popping noise. The husband acted squirrely. She was supposed to have a big birthday party. I believe it was the 10th birthday party for her daughter. So a big deal, double digits. And her family, it was supposed to be out of town at Big Bear, I believe. She would not have just planned this big party and then taken off without telling. I mean, obviously something happened to her, and the last place she was seen was at home. So if you've watched the interview room with Chris McDonough, or if you watch Profiling Evil with Mike King, and even Judy Ron, they'll talk about where do you start. You start in the home. That's the last place the person was found. That's where law enforcement starts. Where were they last seen? And then you move out from there. So in this case, we can't leave the home because she was last known to be at home. And then her husband had the story, and we'll talk more about it when it's going to trial. But regardless, the story didn't really match up with what happened. And there was missing data from his car. He seemed to have driven about 2 hours, but the GPS somehow didn't. They couldn't tell exactly where the car went. They just could see on the odometer how far it went. He didn't take his phone with him. He had his youngest child who wasn't in school with him at that time. So her sister and brother-in-law, they're often on the interview room with Chris McDonough. You can go to his playlist to see the Maya Meliete videos to learn all about it. He is a great resource, my main squeeze for the Maya Meliete case. And they have been going out for 2 years, every weekend, looking for her sister anywhere she could be. They've even gotten professional trackers involved in this search. So anyway, last October, he was indicted on a no body, no crime type indictment by the Chula Vista law enforcement. I think Larry, who was indicted, filed a report against, and so did his parents, against the police, against the city. I think at first it was just against the city. And so the new update in this case was that, so his parents are now, that didn't go anywhere, suing the city for harassment and illegal search and seizure, which it was all thrown out. It wasn't. Now they're suing the law enforcement, basically for those same things, that they came into the house and scared the children, that they took the devices, and even the devices that replaced those devices were taken, that they wrecked everything in the house, that they scared the children, that they pushed, the father is claiming the police pushed him during the search. The Milietes seem litigious, as if that is somehow going to do something about the missing mom and the murder charges, which, I think law enforcement they were looking for what happened, and that's part of what happens. But that will be, they have every right to file that civil case against the police. The police are not responding at this point, and the city attorney said he hasn't seen it. So, again, they're very upset. I believe his parents have the children, but Maya's family has also, they went to court to get visitation so that they can also see the children. There was a status update. So this is preliminary, the preliminary hearing for Larry. So he's been in jail since, I believe it was October 27th. There was a status hearing this past Thursday on the 12th, and there's a preliminary hearing slated for June 27th. At the status hearing, they just reiterated, they talked about getting ready for trial, and the main focus seemed to be there was a problem with him speaking to his parents because there's a no contact order with the children. And he can contact his parents, but his parents can't relay messages back and forth, and it sounds like that may have been happening. So, again, the children were at home. The baby was like 3 years old, maybe. There were two really, really little ones, and then the 10-year-old who probably could give some witness or at least some information to the law enforcement. So he's not supposed to be talking to them. He's not, he could be scaring them. He could be telling them, influencing them through his parents. His parents obviously have a very pronounced defensive stance with the police and the city. So they wanted added to the no contact not to do videotaping, because the kids could then see him when he was face to face with his parents through the video chat. And the judge just said, basically, I've already said everything digital. That should include that. That's understood. And they know this. So just reiterating to everybody on both sides, the parents are not allowed to pass messages from the father. I don't know. It sounds like the Meliete, like the father, the husband, and his side of the family, they don't follow the rules and they get very mad. That's just my impression. I don't know them. This is just an overall impression. Larry did, I can't remember if they were from Puerto Rico or where they were from, because I don't think culturally it's as strange as what I'm about to say, but Larry was contacting spellcasters to get his wife, like putting spells on her to fall back in love with him. I mean, he very much was upset. So the fact that her last movement was calling a divorce attorney, yeah, I'm jumping around a little bit here. But the upshoot is, the update was that the parents are suing the police, which I don't think that's really a case. They're just mad. Larry is in jail and will remain there. He will have a status update on June 9th at 1:30 if you're interested, and it will be, I believe it will be, you'll be able to find it on the interwebs. And June 27th is the preliminary hearing. That will be a big deal. We will hear a lot more. As you know, that's preliminary hearings when we, the public, hear a lot more about what law enforcement has. Anyways, so sweet, bubbly Maya Meliete. Please go to my main squeeze sources for this, which the interview room with Chris Madonna has most of these. I think Profile and Evil may have done some, but the interview room is probably where you want to go to look at the playlist. It's a Crime with Linda has also covered this case. She is on YouTube. You can find her there. Great resource for that. Those are my main squeezes for the second sampling in our episode 13 flight. We are doing episode 13. It is May 16th at the time of recording. In our flight, we're to the third sampling, which is the Vicky White and Casey White case. And we have, oh, that's right, 19 Crimes is our pairing, because obviously, as I've stated, they've had about 19 crimes. I'm doing very small small little swishes. I should have a little spit bucket like the fancy connoisseurs do, because I'm going to an appointment and cannot. I'm a little bit of a lightweight. So anyways, 19 Crimes, Casey White, Vicky White. So, also, could you like and subscribe? Leave a comment. All right, so this is a very small update. We'll hear more when he goes to trial about this. Now, we don't have Vicky's side anymore. Why? Vicky is gone due to a gunshot to the head during last week's, it was a week ago Monday, when they were caught in Evansville, Indiana, and the sheriff and a number of law enforcement, the U.S. Marshals, waited for them to leave the motel they were spotted at. There was a car chase. Now, so it's not clear if it was OnStar, or it seems like or if Vicky actually called 911, but 911 was called and could hear what was going on. Now, if you go on Twitter and go to the docket, which is is it Eric89? But if you search for the docket, it's like a pink little icon with Eric's face in it. He has some cleaned up versions, and it sounds like she's talking, that Vicky's voice was saying, like talking about getting out of the car and running and going back to the motel, or why did we leave them? It's a little garbled, but she doesn't sound like she's talking about harming herself. Now, we know Casey White has a history of harming others, and we know that when he jumped out of the car, the first thing he said was, "I didn't do it. I didn't shoot her, shot herself." I don't know. It seems like a weird first thing to mention. And although his mother claims this week that he is horribly distraught and Vicky really was the love of his life, when he's led away, you can see he doesn't look upset at all. He's like, jig's up. He looks not happy, but he doesn't look miserable, like the love of his life just died. I mean, he's 38, she was 56, and not that an age different matters, but I don't know. It was a weird pairing, and obviously she was in law enforcement, and we know now that their relationship was much longer than anybody first thought, so she obviously was taken in by him, fell for him, did help him, like basically threw away her whole life for him. But did she really shoot herself, or did he somehow get the gun? And if she had the gun in her hands because she wanted to fight it out and run from the car like she was talking about, it seems like maybe, just my opinion, I don't know, but we'll never know her side of the story, which benefits Casey, doesn't it? Because now he can just tell his side of the story. Another reason that I think maybe he did somehow do something. That's just my opinion. I cannot prove it. Go listen to the 911 call, please, yourself. And the other thing that Eric posted, her funeral was this past Sunday, and it was very well attended, and some people in the Twitter comments mentioned, like, I bet it was just looky-loos. And the thing is, though, as Eric pointed out, she was well loved. I mean, before that was the other thing that came out. She was supposed to get this month's Employee of the Month. Like, she was really a great employee. So this is an aberration that colored her whole life now. It's very sad. All right, so to the good part of Vicky's life. Not to the 19 crimes and Casey White. It's too bad she ever ran into him. That's my opinion. And we'll hear more about this case when he goes to trial. In this 13th flight, we are up to our 4th sampling with the case of, just a little update on the Murdoch case. We have a white Zin because it's a white collar crime, as far as we know right now. the corruption part anyways. My main sources for this case this week have been through Fitz News. And Fitz News is spelled Fitznews. And you can find them on YouTube. That's where I find it. So, white collar crime. Corruption. This past week, because it's Monday, so it was last week, his lawyers tried to, they filed to restore control of Alex's finances to him and his family. If you've been following this case, so I can't even tell you how much corruption, and it seems like money laundering and conspiracy, maybe a RICO case, because it seems like it was organized crime within the Low Country Good Old Boys network, and it involves lawyers who were also that area's, they don't call him a district attorney there, but basically that role of a district attorney, who also had their own family business, and the family had actually all been the solicitors for that county and that area for almost 100 years. So there was lots of interest, and his family's firm would handle, it was that area in Hampton County in South Carolina was known, like that's the area you wanted to file any personal injury lawsuits, what some people call ambulance chasers. Like they would get huge cases, like huge rewards. So if you're watching any of the celebrity Erica Jane Giraldi case, and we'll talk about that at some point if you guys want, put it in the comments below. But lawyers who fight for the little guy, people who've been injured, they get a big settlement, and then that settlement comes in, they take their cut. They take a percentage of whatever was the winnings. They, after that percentage is gone, they take, like they say in the beginning, if we win, we'll represent you for free, but we get 40% if you win. And then once that 40% is taken out, then they also take out the legal fees, whatever they spent, filings, whatever they had to, deposition costs, blah, blah, blah. And then whatever's left over goes to the person. But if it's millions of dollars, you might end up with $1 million or $500,000 per person, whatever. And those were the kind of cases that the Murdaugh family firm handled. So what's interesting is, as the solicitor general or the district attorney for his area, he had the right to bring suits against people. So that's the state going against you, like criminally. That's a lot of power, so you have influence, right? And then his firm handled the people who got hurt by other people in civil cases and getting these big, huge, what is that called? It's not a reward. A huge judgment in civil court. So he basically had everything all tied up, right? That was a lot of both sidesing it, which I guess because the one was civil, it wasn't considered that, but everybody knew him. He did dealings with everybody. So this case has involved him taking money from the people that were represented by his family's law office, and taking the money and sort of like the Giraldi case, allegedly, and making off with, taking that money and then not telling the people that were supposed to get it that they got anything, and just letting it go, and instead moving that money into his own firm and dispersing it in different ways with the help of bankers and other lawyer friends. So those people, that's the conspiracy of this white collar crime, this money laundering scheme, it looks like. Anyways, so the fact that his crimes, then there's the murders of his wife, who they were having marital problems, it came out later, and his son who was being sued civilly by the family of a girl that had died while he was boating, allegedly while drinking and driving. And then there was also, there are so many murders. If you want to have a full rundown of the Murdaugh murder case, go to any podcast place that you get your podcast, or on YouTube, and go to Mandy Matney, and if you just put in the search bar Murdaugh murders, she's done a whole podcast from the beginning of this, and there's lots of episodes, and there are twists and turns. So this just had to do this filing, and then the judge said no, because obviously, what is he in for? All these white collar crimes, moving around money inappropriately. And he still seems to have, I mean, his tentacles of people that he knows and influences are all over the Low Country and South Cac. So the judge was like, no, your family and you're not moving around that money. There's all these people who you did not pay. We're not going to allow you to start moving money around. So that, oh, too bad. You're bankrupt, you can't pay him back. No, not going to happen. That is, what Fitz News just said was that since November, and they just reminded us that since November, the Murdaughs, although it's spelled like Murdaugh, D-A-U-G-H, but it's pronounced in South Cac as Murdaugh, that their assets have been controlled by a pair of court-appointed receivers to stop that thing. So it's kind of a no-brainer, right? Sorry, Alec. You're not, the shenanigans ends here. So we will hear more about this. White's in for the white collar crimes, and all the people in his family that he allegedly had unalived on the Moselle property. It is a fascinating story. We do not have time for the whole story today. You can look into my past episodes where I discuss this. I think every week I've had something about the Murdaugh case. So you can find more on my channel, or definitely who you really want to go to is Mandy Matney. She is a reporter for Fitz News and has been doing this extraordinary investigative reporting. That is your main squeeze. That's my main squeeze, my main source. If you have any suggestions for wine pairings for Alec Murdaugh, if you know anything about South Cackalack wines, please put it in the comments below. Right now, so I'm missing it by about 20 minutes. There's going to be a press conference, and I'll tell you what we think is going to be on it. This is about a cold case. We're still in South Cackalack, which is South Carolina. This actually took place in Myrtle Beach. So in 2009, a 19-year-old girl went to Myrtle Beach with her friends on April 25th, like spring break time, and did not come back to her room, got separated from her friends, did not come back to her room, never showed up, disappeared, it seems like. Now, even back then, they apparently had looked at a man named Raymond Douglas Moody. They thought he looked, his background, he was there, seemed to be maybe good for it, but then nothing came of that. And as we know, and for years they looked for her, and then her parents had her declared legally dead. But this weekend, Fitz News reported, as well as other sources, that there was some sort of news, there's some sort of break, some new information, and that the Georgetown, I think it's the county in South Cac, was going to be having this press conference. So Moody has remained a person of interest in this case for more than a decade. But what Fitz News thought, and we shall see, is that Brittany, her remains may have been found. And we all know, kind of hearkening back to this Suzanne Morphew case, we don't want to jump the gun and prosecute without a body if we can find a body, because that has more evidence and can help us with our case more. With us, I don't know why I'm saying us as if I'm law enforcement, which I am not. I am also not a lawyer. I am just a all but dissertation, educational PhD student and teacher and mom of 3 who obsessively has read about true crime since I was a teenager myself. So it's not we, but they law enforcement doesn't want to prosecute a case because of double jeopardy. And double jeopardy, as you probably know, is that you can't be prosecuted twice for the same crime, and that is part of our Constitution. So, I paired Brittany Drexel's case with the Capriccio Rosé Sangria because it is bubbly and fun, and so was she. And so here, let's raise a glass. Whoa. Let's raise a glass to Brittany Drexel, and that the press conference has led to finding more about her and her remains. And I will have to let you know next week what happened. Let's hope they found her remains. That's a really, I have to recommend this. Capriccio Rosé Sangria. Now I'm only going to take a sip of this one right now. It is 13.9% alcohol, which is a lot, especially for a lightweight. So you've been warned. We will hear more about the Brittany Drexel case, and I will let you know more next week. Fingers crossed. We are on our 6th case, which means we're on our 6th pairing. This pairing, this case on episode 13 is brought to you by, it's House Wine Rosé Bubbles. I don't know if you can see that. See that can? It says it's limited edition. I like the rainbow flag for many reasons. It stands for, obviously, the LGBTQ. I don't know if there's more letters. I'm so sorry. I'm an old lady. But it also stands for, and June is almost here, for love of everybody and acceptance. And we need more acceptance of everybody. Ooh, look at that. Sorry. Ooh. This was, it is pricey. It was $7.99 for that can. Ooh, but can you see the pretty sparkle bubbles? Let's have a taste. Okay, so if you like regular rosé, you will love this because it's got that, it's more dry. It's not like the sangria or the round barn one, but still yummy. All right, so why did I choose something that had to do with acceptance and love of all different types of people? Because true crime fans, we've got to talk about what happened over this past weekend. There were three mass shootings. There was I believe it was around Houston, Texas, there was a flea market shooting. In Laguna Beach, California, there was a shooting at Grace Presbyterian, and it was during, I believe, at different times, different groups are in the church, and I believe it was during a Taiwanese, and it was older people meeting. Those people got the gunman and knocked him down, older people, and hogtied him until the police got there. So that's pretty amazing. The big, horrific one is in a city to which I have some tangential connection, which is Buffalo, New York. So my son went to a school near Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, for 5 years we went there, and it is a wonderful city. It really is. Everybody there. From traveling from Ohio, I would say it is very, even though it's in New York, Midwestern feel to it. Just everybody is very nice. I really couldn't say enough nice things about the city of Buffalo and everybody there. So we have an 18-year-old who was from South Central New York State in, what is his city? It started with a C. It doesn't really matter. He was a year out of high school, so I don't know if he graduated early or he's just ready to turn 19 and was young when he graduated, but he graduated in 2021. And the reason that's important is because this young man, who is 18, he traveled from his city to Buffalo, and we're not sure yet of the connection why. There have been suppositions as to why, but he live streamed his crime, which is disgusting. So the 18-year-old live streamed his crime, his shooting spree. He apparently went to, and I went into these stores while we were staying in Buffalo area. He went into a Tops grocery market, and actually when he got out of the car, so he had on a helmet, he had on body armor, and was carrying a semi-automatic, and right away shot at people in the parking lot, went into the store, continued. There was return fire by the security guard, who was an retired Buffalo law enforcement police officer. But what he didn't know was that the young gentleman was wearing body armor, so it did, it did no harm to him, and instead just gave away his location, and the 18-year-old was able to locate him and did kill him. The bodyguard and another person were at the time of this taping were the two people that were identified. Was an 86-year-old woman who happened to be the mother of the fire, a past fire commissioner in Buffalo. It was horrific. So the demographics of the neighborhood were predominantly African American or black, people, and his manifesto that he put up, it was 100, let me see, it was either 108 or 180 pages long. 180. He wrote 180 pages of hate against Jews, black people, immigrants. He believed in something that he said he learned on 4chan. So if you know anything about like Q, 4chan, and then 8chan, it is white supremacy conspiracies. It is the Democrats are trying to get immigrants into the country, not to help them. Oh no, it's to get voters so that they can win the electoral vote. I mean, it is fantasy and no evidence behind it, and it is paranoia about the browning of America. But let's just be honest, America is a melting pot, and America was Native American, like First Nations, when white people came here. So I'm sure the Native Americans were worried about the pale skinning of our, this whole thing is ridiculous. America is a melting pot. So this person became a domestic terrorist by reading this crap, and he's a child, or was a child. He had been delving into this apparently a long time, because as soon as it happened and his manifesto was out there and he had live streamed this horrible thing, I don't know if he was trying to bring awareness to this situation. It's unclear why he went to Buffalo, why he went to a supermarket, why he mowed down everybody in his sight, especially elderly people, when if he was involved and cared about replacement theory, like, oh, white people are being replaced. Why are you shooting elderly people? I mean, not that he should shoot anybody, but that makes no sense. No sense. It was just hatred, and he had been steeped in it somewhere. So apparently when he was in high school, he was making comments about shooting at his high school graduation in 2021. And that was, the police were contacted, they investigated, they said he should get mental health evaluation. Let's not get into the whole thing about how somebody who is privileged, and both his parents are civil engineers. I mean, he came from a privileged white background. It is similar to the Columbine children. They were white and privileged. It is frightening how people who are given everything can still develop these attitudes of like, poor me, poor me, these other people, the others who have a much harder road to hoe, and then when they get in trouble, they are treated with much more, seemingly, in my opinion, better treatment than people who commit crimes who aren't from a white privileged background. That is white privilege. If you're listening to this and you're like, I don't understand, what does it mean to be white privileged? Most white people don't understand it, in my opinion, because it's something we carry with us. We don't even understand how other people are treated in the world. But if you look at like this case, not very many non-privileged, non-upper middle class or wealthy white individuals who made a terrorist basically claim to do something at a graduation would just be like, no problem, no jail. You just get yourself some help, honey. So what happened? Within another year, this person, still steeped in the same culture, whatever radicalized him, went and did this horrific attack. He bought 3 guns legally. Now, was that because the previous year he was 17 when it happened? I mean, the kid was 92nd percentile in his graduating class. He wasn't an idiot. But because he was underage, remember, everything was sealed perhaps, and that's why he wasn't put, I don't know. I would think that maybe we need some regulation that if you've made these type of serious attempts to do something in the past, even if you're just on the cusp of being an adult, that maybe, you are in a probationary period to get your hands on deadly weapons until you're, of 21. Your brain's fully formed. We know physically all the myelination in your neurons in your brain, in the frontal lobe, where you make decisions about, possibilities that haven't taken place yet before you actually do them. That's not finished until you're 25, 26. So maybe if you've made errors in judgment so severe that the police get involved when you're 17, maybe you just shouldn't be able to buy a weapon. I'm just saying. I don't know. The community from which he came, I think it's Conklin, New York. The community is shocked. There are comments that maybe his mom was snotty or conceited. I mean, she has pictures of her family all in matching pajamas at Christmas, but that's a lot of white ladies I know. Everybody now is like, oh, maybe the family was a little weird. I don't think we can make those judgments at this time. All we know is that this person, and he was huge too. I mean, I don't know when he turned 18, but we know that he last year made these sort of claims about doing a mass shooting at his graduation, and a whole year later he did something. So maybe we should pay attention, and maybe we should watch what our kids are doing online. And 4chan and 8chan are no places for anybody, in my opinion, who is under 21. I mean, it's the gobbledygook and hatred. It reminds me of Timothy McVeigh. If you're old enough to remember the Oklahoma bombings, we have domestic terrorists, homegrown, and they all tend to hate the other. And this kid, how did he hate so many groups when he's 18? He hasn't even lived a life. He's living in the middle of New York State, and he made statements. I mean, it's just insane. anti-Semitic statements, anti-African American statements, anti-immigrant statements. He's a baby. Well, he's not a baby, but what I mean is, how did he get so messed up so early? And now he will be in jail for the rest of his life. Although, he came out of, after doing all this, the police met him in the vestibule of the Top supermarket, and apparently he had the gun to his chin and was going to take care of judgment for himself. And the cops talked him out of it. You can feel however you want about that. And took him into custody. And then, this was Saturday. And then Saturday night, he was arraigned immediately in front of a judge, and he was wearing a paper hospital gown and barefoot. So obviously the mental evaluation was going on. And so his life is over. He killed 10 people of the 13 he shot. Again, an elderly woman, like 86 years old. Why? How? I can't even, I don't understand. So we need more love. You don't have to, and people hate the word tolerance, but we do need tolerance, because maybe you don't like what other people are doing. Tolerate means, though, at least you're not, we can't say everybody has to like or accept or approve of, but my gosh, you don't, encouraging people to be violent, as some media, so if you're on Twitter, a lot of people are blaming a certain network that has to do with a certain animal, because there's a certain personality that rhymes with, trucker, who came from a very privileged life himself, who is horribly anti-immigrant. The statements that this person says on the news every night is basically what this kid wrote in his manifesto. The fairness doctrine needs to come back, in my opinion. I don't know. It's sad, you guys. So, it seems like the Laguna Beach at the Grace Presbyterian, because it was during the Taiwanese, as far as I know, that's still murky. It seems like there may have been some sort of anti-something sentiment there, and I'm not sure about what happened in Houston. All I'm sure about is that for a whole group of people who are like pro-Second Amendment against anything else, and at the same time are pro-life, it doesn't seem to mash up to me. Because when people spew hate and then you give them easy access to weapons, I don't know. We've got to take care of one problem or the other. We either have to not allow just spewing of outright hatred. Especially as news. I don't know. I think hate speech is different from free speech. That's my opinion, you guys. So that was a sad crime. We're going to hear more about that. And there was also a developing story out of Indian Hill, Ohio, that has nothing to do with all these things, but I'm going to get to that probably next week if it turns into anything. I don't want to say anything right now because it might not, and it's about something sensitive. Anyway, so that is the updates on things that have happened where we need more love in our world. Less guns, more love. Go ahead and grab yourself some of this expensive house wine if you like rosé bubbles. Limited edition in the fun can, the rainbow can for June. All right, true crime fans, that's it for that case.